Hey, good afternoon, everybody. It's Charlie Bengel Jr., CEO of Remax Allegiance. Welcome to another edition of the Allegiance Way Show and the Daily Dose. My co-host, as usual, is coaching extraordinaire Amy Lassen. Good to see you, Amy.
You too, Charlie.
It is Friday, May 29th, last Friday of May. Boy, it's been a weird 10 weeks. We're about to be in June. Year's going to be half over in a month.
Yeah.
And as I was joking with a client,
coaching client,
thank you. A couple hours ago, I said, I can make the prediction that I think the second half of the year will probably be better than the first half of the year. And we both had a laugh. With that, today we are wrapping up our discussion on the buyer process. This is something that you're passionate about. This is something that I've pointed out also on this show several times, that it's a piece that is so lacking for agents out there, right? They are constantly winging the buyer process. It then creates problems and friction and misaligned expectations. And really, we take the time to do this to make sure that our buyers' expectations are aligned with reality. And I don't mean the reality of being a first-time home buyer or a 10th-time home buyer. I mean the reality of the market today and the neighborhood that they're buying in, or the building that they're buying in, or whatever. So with that, what are your kind of introductory thoughts for today?
Well, I think if you would invest in some time and practice into refining your buyer process, your initial interview, your presentation, and all your follow-up steps, have the most detailed checklist that you'll follow every single time. Educate them in advance, tell them what you told them, remind them what you told them. Don't let them be the one to call you and say, wait, did anybody think about a home warranty? You should have already told them. So if you invest the time in learning and becoming skilled at this and doing the upfront work, you will save time in every transaction. You will save pain and heartache, and you will gain a reputation for being an agent who is incredible to work with for other agents. So this is worth every minute of your time.
Yeah, so it's about reducing friction in this transaction and doing a good enough job to where we will be referred and create a raving fan for future transactions, right? Very good. Where do you want to start today?
Well, I guess for those who missed yesterday's show, we started with the very initial contact, right? So when you have the initial contact, you need to follow a buyer intake sheet, a questionnaire, and we can talk about the LP Mama script today. We also talked about what are the components of a healthy buyer presentation, what are the things that you ought to cover, and we left off there. So if we want to step back a minute and you can share about LP Mama, that'd be great.
Yeah, so is that something that you can pull up?
I can.
So this is, really for online leads, but it's really for, I think they can be used well for any sort of a buyer that comes through. This is a pretty decent pre-qualifying script.
See, did that work? Nope, wrong one.
Yeah, there are several, and if any of you out there are interested in getting the LP Mama script, all you have to do is Google LP Mama, literally LPMAMA.
Yeah.
And there are many different organizations that have a copy of this. I don't know where it actually originated. It's just been ripped off and duplicated so many times.
Right. Yeah, I think I have too many versions of it to open. That's the reason I'm struggling here. Okay, give me a second. Maybe I'll just go with this one. Yeah, that's the one I had. Okay, here's what I'll do. I'll download it and you guys will watch me and it'll be fine. Ding!
There we go.
There's our cheat.
So what does LP Mama stand for? It stands for location, price, motivation, agent. Do they have one? Mortgage. Are they pre-approved? Are they paying cash? And then closing for the appointment.
Yeah.
We will get a version of this up on theallegianceway.com, both under scripts, probably both under scripts, Get More Buyers, and under the Daily Dose. We put some of these in different places so it's easiest to find.
Yeah.
What advice do you have regarding this? I mean, ideally, you've role-played this. It's ingrained in your memory. The acronym LP Mama exists to make it easier to remember.
Yes.
Because there may be times that, you need to call someone or somebody calls you and you don't have this piece of paper in front of you. Right. But you want to be able to rattle off the script and see where they are in the process. Yes?
Yes, absolutely. And I think these are just the big rocks. But I have noticed, Charlie, that some agents get so hung up on these being the most important things that I think they kind of shoot themselves in the foot when trying to build rapport. And so the advice I've given the people that I coach is when you're talking to a potential buyer, treat them as though they were your sister, right? They were your friend. When they say, we like this house, we're thinking about this neighborhood, we're curious about such and such, be more curious yourself. And say, oh, well, what attracted you to it? Or why now? Or what's going on? Or how long you've been thinking about this? That's what I would say to my own sister, not, have you spoken to a lender? Have you spoken to it?
Right.
I think we go for the close and we kind of scare people away. So these are the big rocks. Don't forget to cover these. Don't put someone in your car without understanding these. But I think you can start with much gentler things like, how long have you been looking? How soon do you want to be moved? Is this the neighborhood that works primarily for you? Things like that.
Yeah, there's no reason to machine gun them with these 6 questions. And then when you get an answer to a question that you ask, going deeper is always a good thing, right?
Goodness.
Asking another question. Right?
I hope we haven't beat this to death, and I don't think we have, Charlie, because I think you and I, correct me if I'm wrong, learned this recently in our own careers through coaching. Is that true?
Sure. Yep.
Right. So I've been a realtor for a long time, longer than I've been a coach. And I learned about 4 years ago that you need to ask the question beneath the question. When someone says, I'm looking for a ranch style home under 400,000 in such and such school district, you just can't take that at face value. Right. And then people think, well, why not? I have concrete examples of mistakes that I've made. So I would say always affirm and then pivot, right? Always affirm and then go deeper. Oh, that's great. Tell me why a ranch style home is important to you. Well, we just don't want stairs. Terrific. What else is important to you? Like, I think 3 deep easily. Keep asking until you feel like you've exhausted it. I think when we're anxious, when we're hopeful, maybe when you're newer or less experienced, you get that one little kernel and you think, I've got it, and you pounce. And then that can backfire because you're still not necessarily on their page as much as they would like.
Yeah, I would argue that some veterans are the worst at this. Type A, used to giving advice. I have the answer for everything.
Yeah.
And oftentimes the right answer really is asking more questions until you go 2, 3 deep, like you said, and then based on that discussion, coming up with a strategy or an answer. And I always, I'm always joking with clients, with coaching clients, that, you need to have reminders about this. The sticky note on your computer, it doesn't even need to say ask more questions. The blank sticky note is the billboard, right? If you're out and about or if you're going on an appointment, right? Putting a rubber band on your wrist, right? You'll know what that means, right? Yep. So I think, it is very challenging. And whether we've been coaching somebody for a year, or you and I both coach some veterans that have been around 3 decades, and they struggle with this as well, right?
If you haven't practiced,
it's just not a habit. And when somebody asks you a question, I think it's natural for us to just give an answer and not answer with a question. It really takes practice. And I think in coaches training, didn't they talk about us going home one evening and having a conversation with somebody, and the entire conversation was us asking questions. Right. So we weren't supposed to be making a statement. It was another question. So anyway,
answers loses. You have to.
Yeah. And I would say practice makes perfect. But you know what? In my experience, and I've been 3.5 years in or whatever, I practice a lot. Perfection still eludes me, right? Because you have to be conscious of it, and that's still hard to do. So
I love it that this conversation has taken this side trip. Those of you watching, we did not discussing this, but I love it so much. I want to share with all of you, this has changed the way I communicate with everyone. It's taught me that I don't know what I don't know. I have 3 young adult children. Those of you who whose children are teenagers or adults, of course you don't know anything. But we still try, right? You still try to give advice. You still try to be helpful. You still try to know the right answer. And the truth is you never will. And learning to reflect back with curiosity and openness and questions, it's a game changer. So I would say, even though we didn't intend to do this, and maybe in the future, Charlie, we should actually create a little bit of a guide and do a whole show on creating rapport and creating genuine understanding through questions. I would say take this seriously and just go practice on anyone. Try it. When anyone says anything to you, like, hey mom, I want a peanut butter sandwich. Maybe that's a bad example. Maybe you should just give it to them. But look for opportunities to ask questions beneath questions and start to create that habit. It's powerful. Right.
So tell me, Amy, is that peanut butter really what you want to see in your diet as you were on this weight loss journey? Anyway, that's a leading question, and that's not necessarily what Amy and I are talking about here. What's next?
Okay, so we were backtracking a little bit in our outline, which is initial rapport building, initially getting to know you. Then we went through, and if you missed yesterday, just watch yesterday's call about how to do the buyer presentation. We also have other previous episodes of the Daily Dose on buyer process and serving buyers at a high level. Now we're moving on to VIP buyer program.
Yes. Let me attempt to share my screen here.
Alrighty.
And we've talked about this, I think, previously. Here we go. This is a very, very basic outline of some ideas of what could be a VIP buyer program. The idea came about of getting exclusivity. We're always talking about trying to get buyers to give us exclusivity. There's a couple different ways to do it. There's the handshake, right? There's the buyer-broker agreement, which we get pushback from, I think, a lot of real estate clients on, both, well, buyer clients and coaching clients. You and I could probably agree. So what can we do to entice them to use us as the agent? Let me try to zoom in here a little bit.
Yeah, that's great.
So the idea here is, if you use me and my trusted partners, right, you will get a free home warranty. Maybe that's coming from the agent. The free appraisal would be coming from the lender. The $100 savings on a home inspection would be coming from the home inspector. So this is not all coming from the agent, right? The idea here is you and your vendor partners are all benefiting from this allegiance, if you will, and therefore everybody should be contributing. Either love it or leave it guarantee. If within 12 months of purchasing your home, you don't love it, or you need to sell it for any reason, we will list your home free of charge. That does not include the selling commission, right? They would still need to cover the selling commission. Other ideas, there's some, big teams that have a free moving truck. So I went ahead and threw that on here.
Yeah.
So there's a couple, different ways of going about this. And I think every agent needs to decide what they're most comfortable with when it comes to this guarantee and this exclusivity.
Yeah.
That said, I've recommended to some people, you could just have this as one sheet, right? And then it talks about that, you are committing to using that realtor and that brokerage, right? It's not going to be enforceable. But my point is, you put some language down there, they sign it, you sign it. Is that an easier get than the 6-page buyer broker agreement? And will that cause them to have an allegiance to you that perhaps they wouldn't have had otherwise, right? That is the idea here. And I think that we've all been cheated on by clients. It's happened to the best of us, right? And oftentimes it's because the agent did not make clear, I think, that exclusivity is important and it's expected. And if you're not comfortable with that, Mr. or Mrs. Buyer, then maybe we're not a great match. So the time to ask for exclusivity is not during LP Mama. The time to ask for it is after the entire buyer consult, right? You have shown your value, and then maybe you've got this VIP experience as well. And then you go in and you ask them, how are they feeling, And if they don't want to give it to you, it's still up to you as the agent whether you want to work with them or not. Yeah. There's some agents that would be thinking, okay, I have nothing else going on. This person may not be loyal, but if I show them the right house, I may make some money. So I'm not saying here that if they're being loosey-goosey with you, that you walk away every time. At least where I'm going with this is, at least you know that they're loosey-goosey. You've had the conversation, they're a little loosey-goosey, right? And then you decide how you want to move forward, right? If you want to move forward with them. And, I think it depends on the agent, how busy you are, your tolerance for all this stuff. It's happened to me several years ago. I was working with some people and they were working with another agent and I had no idea. Luckily, I only took them out maybe twice. I only spent a few hours with them. And they ended up buying from the other person. I could tell they were getting flaky and I kind of called them out on it. And, they went radio silent. My lender still got the deal, which still pisses me off to this day. But that happens. And I think if you've been around in this business long enough, it's probably happened to you, or it will happen to you if you don't put up some barriers. And had I gone through a proper buyer presentation with them, I didn't. Had I had this VIP program, I didn't. Had I asked for exclusivity, I didn't. Then maybe I could have at least seen in their face that they had a problem. And then I could have decided whether I was going to work with them or not. And I don't remember the circumstances at the time, whether I would have or not. They were looking for like a $700,000 place. My time is super valuable personally, especially on weekends for me, because I work a lot during the week. I probably would not have worked with them. That's me. There's other agents that it's like, they may stray, $18,000 commission. I'm going to take the chance. And that's up to you. I just want you as the agents to have as much information as you can to make the right decision for you and your family based on the given circumstances.
I love it. And all these little sidebars.
Yeah, right.
I love this diatribe about loyalty, because here's what I want almost all of you listening to understand. Most of that is on you.
Oh,
don't
absolutely.
Be a crabtree. Yes. Don't be a crybaby. Yep. I don't want to ever hear buyers or liars out of your mouth. We could do a way better job, all of us, of setting expectations and educating buyers. So explain agency, explain how it works. My shtick was my very first RE/MAX brokerage. It was a rule. You couldn't wing it. You couldn't fake it. Yep. You had to get it signed and you had to turn it in. And as scared as I was as a little newbie, I would just say, this is required. This is what this says. Let's go see the house. When we get back, you're going to sign it. And if you don't want to work with me, that's fine.
Right.
And I would just set the expectation.
What a great approach.
Yeah.
Then you know.
Yeah.
Then you know.
And I think, I can hardly think. One time I had a guy said that he was going to go, he was a relo guy and he was going to check out Prudential as well. And I'm like, good on you. Let me know how that turns out. And he chose me. But, be confident, follow a process. And to the VIP thing, that may be cool for you. Don't do it instead of having a service. No, I'm so serious because there are plenty of people who don't believe in the educating. Right. Following a routine process of being really always punctual and always really communicative and clear, and then they try to put some frosting on it with a warranty.
Well, so and that's not going to work because you're still going to, at some point, more than likely aggravate your client, whether you know it or not.
Sure.
Right? I mean, you know what, honey? Charlie never told me that the home inspection would be 3 hours. I was late to work today, right? They may never complain to you about it. They may just suck it up, right? But was it that, kind of level 10 experience that you and I refer to all the time where you're creating a raving fan? No. Were they so disappointed that they're calling the managing broker saying, Charlie sucks, get me a new agent, right? This is ridiculous. No. But are they raving fans? No. And do you know about it? You may not, right? So, I think that's, I appreciate your opinion there, and that I don't want anybody to use that VIP buyer program as a substitute for doing our jobs and preparing our clients for what to expect during this process, and to keep communicating with them during the process, which I think we're going to talk about in a minute. You and I have talked about kind of these what's next videos, and I think it's a brilliant idea. I know of a couple agents that are doing it. I don't have too many awesome examples yet, but I am poking, prodding, shoving, pushing people to do this because I think it's such a great opportunity if we have a suite of videos that we're texting out to clients and they're on YouTube. So we actually look like experts when people are Googling us or Googling different steps in a transaction.
Charlie, you just reminded me, I created a master list of explainer video topics.
Really?
Yeah. So
I would love to see that.
Share my screen.
I would love to see that. It'll save me some work. Thank you.
I think this is the most Winget show we've ever done, and it wasn't intentional because we prepared. Yeah. Okay, so this is the one that I created, and I'm going to read it through really super fast because you guys can have it. Okay, so here's an example. For buyer explainer videos, announce their online search is up and running, right? Whether that's a video or just an email letting them know you've set them up in MLS and they're going to be receiving properties. Send them market updates if that's appropriate. If they're in the market for more than 48 hours looking, you probably want to let them know what's changing. Explain sections of the purchase contract. You could send that in advance and explain things as it comes about. You're under contract. What's next? give them all the contract deadlines and what's actionable by them, what's actionable by you, what's actionable by the lender. Here's how to read your title commitment. Charlie, this is a point of pain for me way too many years in my career. I finally had a title company send me the cleanest, coolest explanation, and I ripped it off, and now I always use it.
Good. Okay.
Before it was just send it to them and let them figure it out. This week is inspection, the cost, the length, the what to expect, right?
Yep.
Get ready to move. Talk about walkthrough. Talk about utilities. Talk about mail forwarding.
Right.
What to know about closing, right? They need to bring their ID. It needs to be current. It needs to have their legal name, whatever.
Right.
Seller, and maybe we skip this because we're on the buyer, but I have a section for sellers, and then lead follow-up. So all of these could be put in the can, or you could have them custom. And this is another thought. What if you had the master list of things that you need to tell them, but you choose to do them custom? Like, hi, Jan and John. This week is inspection. Blah, 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 blah. You can create templates in Gmail. You can have all of your explainer emails queued up and ready to go, and then just do the video if you want to make it custom. So either way.
And then, by the way, some of those can be interviews. I think there's some agents out there that struggle with video in general. And I've said before, and I think you've said that you agree, an interview style, 2 people on video is easier than 1.
Sure.
So, you can have a video on the importance of getting pre-approved, and it's you interviewing your lender, not for 20 minutes. It's quick. These videos are quick, right? These are not long, drawn-out videos. At least I wouldn't watch them. My attention span is fairly low. And then maybe there's another video of how to get pre-approved. He's talking about, what it takes, the kind of documents that are going to be needed, the pain of all that. What is earnest money? We've talked about that. So I would really encourage people to really go granular, right? And you may have several dozen videos when you're all done, but what a cool YouTube channel that would be. Because in my experience, most of these videos around how to buy and sell a house on YouTube, they're like an hour long. I would never watch that. Maybe it would be running in the background as I was playing Words with Friends or whatever, but I would not be paying attention to it. But send me a 2-minute video, I'm game to watch that, right? But an hour, I'll pass. Right.
And pro tip for those of you who use BombBomb or maybe LionDesk, which has the ability to send video email, bullet out the basics of what you're going to say. Right. Maybe people guess that your video is important.
Yes, and some people love video. You and I actually, we aren't huge video
I get impatient.
fans as a consumer.
Yeah.
I'd rather read the CNN article than watch the video.
Yep.
But
I will tell you, if it says what it is and I'm intrigued, then I'll watch it.
Right. But you and I we're not normal when it comes to that, right? We keep hearing, all the people, they'd rather just watch the video. So, anyway. So the explainer videos and to be able to tell a buyer or a seller that you have this series and you created it so they always know what to expect next. That is very powerful. And then that reduces the friction that we talked about at the top of the show, right? It may not eliminate it completely, but it's going to reduce it.
Right. And I would say, and maybe not everyone's markets are identical, but it's competitive for buyers. Yes. This is not an easy road. It's not like buying a ticket and riding the roller coaster. Well, kind of, depending on how you like roller coasters.
Right.
But I had a friend say to me at the office the other day that she was really proud of the fact that she has done such a good job. She's such a buyer specialist. And she said, I have done such a good job of educating my buyers that something blew up the other day. It was a decision time. And they said, what do you think we should do? And she said, well, what do you think we should do? What do you think we should do? And she said, well, we talked about this. She reflected back to them what she had already prepared them for and said, what would you like to do? And then shut up. And then she wasn't like being their mother because these are adults and this is a big decision. So she felt good that although they had this moment's indecision, she had armed them. She reminded them, they looked at their options and they made a choice and they felt empowered. Right.
Good.
Yeah.
What's next?
So I think really it's for all of you refining, and now I have to think, Charlie, about whether or not we have like a perfect buyer checklist to share. We are going to go through complete transaction checklist next week, but maybe just a little bit of a summary. We do have 6 minutes left, but don't underestimate the value of going through this in detail. You will save yourself time. You will provide a better experience, right? Your referrals will double, quadruple. Like I've shared this story about my sister before, is that my sister is a great agent and I could have known to refer her. right? Wouldn't I know to refer her? If anybody knew, I would know. She's busy. We chat about kids. We don't talk about her desperate need for my referrals. When people ask me for a referral in her marketplace, I usually send them to one of my other friends because I figure my sister doesn't care. And in the last year, and forgive me, those of you who heard this before, but I don't think you all have, last year I had several experiences with a shared client or a referred client where the reviews that they gave me of her, the one woman said, Amy, on a scale of 1 to 10, your sister is a 15.
Right.
And another person said, that is how real estate should be done. And I will tell you, I am now tripping over myself to refer my sister, and I don't care if she's too busy. That's her damn problem. I'm now referring people not to do her a favor, but to do them a favor. Because I know the quality of experience they're going to have. Give your buyer that experience so they trip over themselves to refer you, not to do you a favor, but to do their friends a favor. So that's what this is about.
I like it. Good. Any kind of parting thoughts? I think that's a good one right there. Don't cut corners. The idea here is to create raving fans.
I think the parting thoughts is if you don't have this in place now, it will take time. Please don't shrink from it. Please don't think that's all very well and good for someone who already has it. No, no, no. All of us build these a little at a time. So take advantage of the resources that we give you on the allegianceway.com. Block out some time every day or every week and just commit to getting better over time. I promise you, in maybe 6 months, you'll see night and day change in the quality of the work that you do. Give yourself some time. Commit.
I like it. Very good. And with that, happy Friday. Have a good weekend. We'll be back here at 1:30 Eastern on Monday for another edition of the Daily Dose. Take care, everybody. Thanks.
Bye, everybody.